Evelyn from Redmond City Council. He's got a really neat background that I think he's going to talk to us about, but also kind of give us some updates on what's going on here in the city. So, Mr. Evelyn, I will yield the floor to you.
Thank you very much. Let me take off my coat so I don't get hot. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you very much for inviting me here today. I appreciate it so much. Unfortunately, my point man is not here because he had a tragic. His grandson had a tragic accident. He got killed that other night. And it's interesting how people want to be committed to you. And he was trying to be committed to me. I said, well, what's the problem? And I said, what happened? And he told me. I said, don't even worry about that. I'll get through this. That's what I'm doing, you know. But anyway, first of all, I want to thank everybody for having me here today. You know, I don't get the opportunity to talk to people all the time. I will next year, I think. So we'll see what happens. One of the things that I want to, I was thinking and advice was, and I was trying to determine what I wanted to talk about. And what I want to talk about is the homelessness issue, as we know. And I'm going to tell you why. Because here go a headline right here that says, as the homeless population grows, Redmond, Deschutes County search for solutions. And we all know this. But this came from July 14, 2021. And the reason why I find that to be an issue, because I'm going to get things done, guys. You know, and we need to stop. We know what the problem is. We keep talking about what the problem is, but we already know what the problem is. We have to get solutions. And the only way to get solutions is to have to be people joining in together with my city councils and myself. You know, we got to work together to come up with a plan and a solution to help people. You know, whether we like it or not, homelessness is an issue across the country. Okay, but what I can say is Redmond is a great city. You know, we're still a little bit ahead of it, in my opinion. It's not terrible yet, but it can get terrible. And the reason why I can tell you it's going to get terrible, it can get terrible, is because when I was in Clark County as a sheriff for I was a commander for 20 years, right? And I watched as Portland and Vancouver just started, the trickling effect started. You know, a few people here, a few people there, you know. And I think one of the biggest travesties is that you have people who are civic leaders that say things like, oh, they're just alcoholic and drug addicts. That's what they want to be homeless. Well, I disagree with that. First of all, no one wants to be homeless. The caveman didn't want to be homeless, that's why he lived in a cave. Okay? So think about that. The other thing is this, is that no one wants to be homeless, but they're ashamed, you know, and what I'm going to lead into is the incarceration piece of it. So running to jail, I've been in jail for like 5 years, right? And that's when I really start to take note of, here's the problem. There's a problem right here, and it's starting to grow. And no one seemed to notice that the problem was growing. And if they did, they were ignoring it, hoping that it would go away. Well, it didn't, as you can see. And Portland's like a mess now. Okay, Vancouver's getting there. When I go back to Vancouver, along the highway, on the 84, you see tents all over the place. You know, and the thing about it is that if we work together as a city and a community, we can figure things out. Okay, we have. So let me just give you some stuff. Okay, so here's some statistics. The USA has the highest number of people incarcerated. Okay, and that number currently is at 2.3 million. Okay, another 4.5 million, okay, is on probation or parole. So we got almost 7 million people caught up in the system, because that's what they are. They're caught up in the system. Okay, in 1970, the population of jail population was 300,000 people, and then right after the 70s, and we progressed into the 70s, these numbers went up drastically. And the reason why they went up drastically is because we started creating laws to try to fight crime. If you look at the studies that I've studied, okay, and I've given speeches on, that tough on crime did not work. All it did was put more people in jail. And the problem with that is once you become incarcerated, you become a victim to the system. Okay? Willingly or unwillingly, you become a victim to the system. And let me tell you why you become a victim to the system. Because correctional facilities, they call them correctional facilities, they don't do any correction. You go to jail, you sit there, you wait. Now, think about it, when you get arrested many times, you're not even charged with anything yet. You're alleged to have done something. So you go to jail, okay, you get a bail, but if you don't have any money, you can't pay a bail. That's the first thing, Okay, so you don't have money to pay bail, so you got to sit in jail. You got a job on the outside. Where do you think your boss thinks you're at for the next 7 days? He has no clue unless you call him and tell him, right? So you're sitting in jail. So that goes on and on and on. Then you go to court, and they give you a court-appointed attorney because you can't afford a good attorney. And court-appointed attorneys, some of them are great, some not so great. And the fact of the matter, they get a flat fee for taking care of you and doing your business. But they're also private attorneys as well. So they're going to look at the people that's paying the money versus you, and you're last on their list. So I've seen people that have been alleged to commit crime sit in jail from 9 to 12 months before they even got to talk to the attorney. So they lost their job. Okay, their family is now broken apart. All right, the mother or the spouse or whoever's in the household, they can't pay the bills, and that's how homelessness starts. You know, the kids, they experience teasing from their friends if they find out about it. There's feelings of shame. There's loss of financial support, weakened ties and relationship with the family, poor school performance from the kids, and kids tend to act out from anger because of embarrassment. So it's a trickling effect, and this is what we need to look at. And I think it's so important that we as a community work together as a community. Don't take this wrong, but I'm stunned that we have so many churches in Redmond, and so many of us profess to be Christians, but there's only like a handful of churches and organizations helping out. And I don't get that. Okay, now whether you like what I'm saying or not, that's the facts. You understand? And if we are godlike, and if we, and if someone's offended by this Christian thing, then you have to be offended because I'm a Christian. All right. And the fact of the matter is that we are supposed to look out for our fellow men, okay, and help them when they can. And if you read your Bibles, it talks about that in the Bible and everything else. I'm not trying to make this into a religious convention. I'm just saying this is the facts, okay? And why would you not want to help them? Because when we don't help and we don't try to fix things, then it just gets worse. Because what's the alternative? And when I talk to people, I have this discussion on a weekly basis with people all in this town, in different hotels and everything, right? And they say, yeah, but if we help them, then more people will want to do this. They're going to want to become homeless. And I'm thinking, why would you think that? But then there's other obstacles as well. So, cost of living, housing costs, rents. Think about this. You guys live in Redmond. Redmond is a great city, and many of y'all have kids, right? And some have younger kids. Your kid can't even afford to live here anymore. Think about that. Your own kid cannot live in this town that you guys have paid taxes to and built up and made it the way you want to, and now your own kids can't even live here. So how is that okay? And I'm not from here, but you know what? I care about them, and that's why I was such an advocate for the recreation center, because this is how we put people together. This is how you build leaders for the future. This is how you show that we can be a multi-generational and a society that cares about each other. And that's the most important thing, is caring about each other. We go to the police station. That was quick. And the thing about it, we had ARPA funds, and granted, I'm ex-law enforcement. I support the police 100%, you understand? But we didn't need to use ARPA funds to do that. I've never seen a police station. I've been in New Orleans, Atlanta, California. I've never seen a police department go down the drain, ever. If we need a new police station, people say, we want security. We want people watching our city streets. It would have passed. That's the thing about it. But we took money and allocated it somewhere, and we could have actually allocated that money somewhere else. And that's what we have to think about. If you want us to be your leaders, then you need to hold us responsible as leaders. We need to know what to do with your money and how to allocate it in the most efficient way possible. And if we're not doing that, then we're not doing our due diligence. You understand? And you guys have the opportunity to say something about that. I've always encouraged people, come to city council meeting, call in, send letters. We want to hear your voice. And hopefully now we'll be able to do that, because we haven't been hearing any voices. And so if no one hears anything, they're going to do whatever they want. And that's not the way we want to do business. Okay? So there's some programs that's going on. Let me give you a good example. We have like Skyline Village. Okay, Skyline Village has been on the books. I moved here in 2017, and Skyline Village has been on the books since I've been here. And we haven't moved an inch on that. You know, then we want to thank, I want to thank Jack Zwicker. Okay, so Jack Zika, I'm sorry. Jack Zika, you know, he coordinated with the city and the state, and they got money together to build Skyline Village. But it hasn't even got started yet. But it's kind of interesting because I live in this town, I see buildings going up like, I mean, they dig a hole, next thing I know it's an apartment complex. I'm thinking, how did that happen? You know? And so what I'm saying is that we have to focus, we have to get our priorities in order. And I don't think we have our priorities in order. And hopefully, we have a new council now. Most of us, all of us, are critical thinkers. I mean, we all professionals in our field. You know, and see, this is the way I look at a city council. City councilors, each one has their own specific area of expertise. And it's like making a cake. So we're all the ingredients, and we put the ingredients in there. Okay, so Kat Zwicker is a real estate person. I'm law enforcement. Ed is an attorney. John Nielsen's a banker. I mean, we got all the little components in there, you know, and I'm just saying, if we work together with your help, we can get these things done. But we got to know what you want. You know, I mean, a closed mouth don't get fed. That's what they used to say in New York. And what that means is that if you don't say what you want, we don't know what you want. And then people just do whatever they want to do. And this is why it's so important. You know, we have, one of the things I hear a lot in town here is that we need child care centers. Okay? So, and you got a lot of young people moving here from different parts of the country now, and they have kids. And that's why that recreation center was so important. Because here's the deal. When I was trying to push for it, people would say to me, well, you know, we just spent $50 million on a police station. And they said, well, I don't want to spend $49 million for a jail. I mean, for a jail. I don't want to pay $49 million for a recreation center. And my response to them was, well, you can look at the investment of having a recreation center of $49 million, or you can look at a jail that's going to cost $100 million, and no one's going to ask you if you want a jail. They just build those when they need it. Okay? So the most important thing is we want to start changing direction here. We want to start finding solutions because we know the problems, but we keep talking about problems, but let's find a solution. But it's working together in order to get this done. You know, I don't care whether you're a Democrat, Republican, Independent, I don't give a crap about that. That doesn't mean nothing to me. What we want to do, what I want to do, is I want to move this city forward in a positive manner, whereas everyone's getting a piece of the pie, and our kids can work and do well, and can afford apartments, and they can move out on their own and start their lives. You know, when I was growing up, I'm 71 years old, so when I was growing up, you know, it was like, well, I'm from New York, so we didn't have the white picket fence. But you know, I'll just go and, we had the high rise, and stuff like that. So, I mean, everybody wants a good life. No one wants to struggle. You know, and the thing about Kiwanis' mission statement talks about how you guys take care of kids and how you care about youth. You know, and so I'm not saying you're not, but what I say to people, just like with the Rotary Club, practice what you preach. If you're going to sit there and have these mission statements all lined up and stuff like that, then you need to do what you say you're going to do. You know, talk is cheap. It's your actions that tell what you really do. You know, we can talk about, look at us now, we still talk about the homeless. And we saw it coming and we see it coming. And it's not stopping. It hasn't stopped. You know, now I don't have the answer for it, but I think if we work together and think about a plan on how to get this thing started, we can get something going. But the thing about it, it's not just putting them into a place and letting them live there. It's about wraparound services, because they need to be able to get their lives back together. They need life skill training. They need a lot of them are drug addicted. And let me talk about the drug addiction for a minute, because like I said in the very beginning, people say, oh, they're just alcoholic and drug addicts. Most of them aren't. Let me just give you that. Okay, that's not even true. Most of them aren't, and my studies have proven that. But what happens when you become homeless, okay, mental health is going to get affected as well. That's just the way it is, okay? You're going to want a bottle of alcohol. You just want to make the pain go away. So they become drug addicts and they become alcoholics. Now let me tell you about incarceration, okay? That's not a pretty picture either, because many people go to jail and get incarcerated, and like I said, the family's left to fend for themselves, and this person is now incarcerated in the jail system, and guess what? He got to fend for his life. You know, we think people just go to jail and sit there and come back out. Well, no, that's not like that. People get attacked in jail. They get beat up in jail. They get used in jail. I mean, there's a lot of bad things that go on in the jail system. And by the time they get out of that jail, they're mentally messed up already. You don't just get PTSD from being in the Vietnam War or Desert Storm. You can get PTSD from having a bad life, period. I can take you to the south side of Chicago, and I bet you all those kids over there, black, white, and other, they all got PTSD and don't even know they got it. And how many of us, everyone has some type of mental illness embedded in them. And the thing, what I'm saying is that we have to care for our people. You know, they are our citizens. You know, we invited people down here when they had the fires. Those people had nowhere to go. They came to Central Oregon. And what did we do? The right thing. We welcomed them. We said, okay, come on. Okay, we put you in the hotels, give you a little bit of time to get your life together and stuff like that. So my question was, where did you think they were going? Where did you think they were going to go when everything settled? And now people are mad, like saying, well, they shouldn't be here anyway. Wait a minute, you just asked them to come here, you welcomed them here, and now you don't want them here, so where do you want them to go? Because everything they had back there got burnt up. You know, so, I mean, what are we talking about? We can't double talk. We can't be hypocrites. You know, and that's one of the things that just bugs me, or bothers me so much, is when people are hypocritical. You know, they stand over here and say one thing, but when they get over here, they're doing something else. So on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, you're doing one thing, but on Sunday, you're saying something altogether different. So where do you stand? You know, what is your position? You know, and how do you want to conduct your life? And what do you think is the right thing to do? You know, they always had that saying, what would Jesus do? And I asked that question too, what would he do? You know? And so I think it's very important that we as a community get our heads together and start thinking about, you know, I mean, we will welcome you to send us some, you know, information or ideas. Because that's what we're here for. We serve you. The one thing that people don't understand, people get in positions of power or authority. We're not the smartest people in the room. We're here to serve you. We're public servants. I'm not a politician. I'm a public servant. That's what I always tell people. I'm not a politician. I didn't go to no politician school. I'm just trying to be right and do the best thing, what I think is best for you. And I'm sure the rest of the council is doing the same thing. You know, because that's how we get ahead. So, any questions? Go ahead, young man.
So over the years, as development has gone on in Redmond, and you see somebody come in and make an application, I want to build 200 homes on this parcel of land, and the city or someone, the planning commission says, you have to have some percentage of those homes for lower income people. And then in the end, you see it, instead of $450,000 homes, there's 1% of the homes or 5% of the homes that are only $300,000. How could that trickle down to help our homeless people? You know, it's like they can't afford $300,000.
Exactly.
You know, where's all the other increments of housing being asked of our developers to help provide?
That's a very good point, and I don't have an answer for it, but I got a response. So here's the funny thing about that. You're right, they're never going to be able to afford that. But see, and I don't know a lot about the building of builders and, you know, all those things yet. I'm still learning that part of it. But the fact of the matter is that, you know, I think people say they're going to build affordable housing, and I had a builder tell me, well, they say that, and they lock it in for like 5 or 6 years, but then after that 6 years, they can raise as much as they want to. Now, I don't know how true that is, but that's what he told me as a builder guy. I said, that's not cool, you understand? But, you know, I don't know the answer to that. I mean, because what we have done, we have skyrocketed the prices outrageous. Here's the thing about it. Any one of us in this room could have a traumatic incident in our life, okay? And we might be one step from being homeless ourselves. I mean, a lot of us are on fixed incomes, you know. A lot of us have family members, you know. We don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I just had 3 friends in the last month, and I had this talk with them. And in the last 3 months, 3 of my friends had major incidents. One of my buddies, he's an ex-veteran, his daughter's husband died. And she never did anything with the business, knew nothing about the business, and he had to fly back, and he didn't know anything about the business. And they're trying to get her up and running. My friend I just told you about last night, his grandson just got killed. And then my other buddy, he's a marketing expert and everything like that, and he just retired, and we just had breakfast at the banking house 2 weeks ago. And we talking, I said, well, what? You need to find time for yourself now. He said, well, I don't know what I want to do. I said, well, get involved. Get on the commission and stuff like that, right? A week later, he doesn't feel good. His wife takes him to the hospital, and they tell him he had a brain tumor. and it's terminal. And he's only like 67. You know, so I'm just saying, you know, nothing's guaranteed. And so we really got to think about this. And we got to save the children. And when I say that, you know, don't take this wrong. I'll use myself. Okay, I'm old. You know, I don't know how much time I got left. But what about the people coming behind us? Yes. You don't just do things for yourself. You do things for the future. You lay the groundwork for the future. And one of the things that I don't see going on in this part of the country is vision. You know, you can see it coming. I mean, how many people got smacked in the face like 3 times before you wake up to it? So I'm just saying, you know, you gotta be smart. You gotta be smart the way we handle things here. You know. Any other questions? Very well. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
So we've got Mountain View safe parking.
Safe parking.
We've got Oasis Village.
Yes.
We've got Shepherd's House.
Yes.
We've got what else?
Skyline Village.
Skyline Village. How do we make sure that all of that is getting orchestrated together? Because it seems like there's siloed, you know, speaking homeless.
Yes.
Whose responsibility, who's capable of making sure all of those outreach organizations are coordinating efforts?
Right.
We've heard from, you know, all those programs that are all great. How do you, how do you actually solve this person's homeless? How do we get them all the way through all these programs and now they're not homeless and now they're back contributing to society? I don't see that.
You're right, and and you touched on it. That's one problem. We got 18, I'm just making a number. We got 18 people all doing the same thing, but in different spots. And one of the things we talked about in doing our retreat is looking at that and saying, well, how do exactly what you said? How do you pull those people together? How do we pull this together? Because it all runs together in order to make it work. It's like a machine. You can't just have one part of it. You got to have all of it. And you know, just like Bethlehem Inn, we got Bethlehem Inn running, but it's not full yet. So what happened there? You know, so I'm going to find out about that because I'm curious about that. I'm like, I just need to know. You know, and I think we need to pay attention to exactly what you're talking about. Why is this not happening, and how do we make it happen? And that's what we go see with the new city council that's coming right now. Because we never had a chance to talk about it before.
And I'll say the same thing too. How does Kiwanis and Rotary and REA and all the other community clubs work together to solve child care issues, homeless issues, whatever issue may be, blank? What does that look like?
A coordinated effort between the city, between the state, and all the organizations like yours. That's how it works. We get together, we have a meeting at City Hall, we talk about it, we get some plans in place, and then we start putting you know, things in order. We haven't done it. We've never done it. We haven't done it since I've been on here. And when I kept pushing for it, they want to do something different. But I believe that we're going to be able to do it this time because I know there's like thinkers on city council now, like myself, that want to see this stuff get done. Because it's just going to get worse. And we don't have time. We don't have that much time. Homelessness just happens. You know, I'll give you a story. So when I was with the sheriff department in Vancouver, you know, we had it was called Wapato Jail. They paid $52 million for this jail to be built. Didn't factor in the salaries for the officers, and it sat vacant. And every time we had a meeting, now with Bernie Gusto, the mayor, and all of them, I said, hey, why don't we just put the homeless people in there for the time being? Oh no, some rich guy's going to buy it. We don't want to mess it up. Oh, okay. 3 years go by. Pops back up again. Oh, why don't you make them homeless? I said this 3 times, and they never did it. Guess what happened? Now this was back in 1992. Okay, all the way up to now. It just got sold. They sold it for $5 million, and guess what it is? It'll be this, Batman. A homeless shelter. So see, that's ignorance. That's just pure ignorance right there. So I don't know whose pocket somebody was in or whatever, but that jail, and it was a nice, this is still a nice jail. It was a nice building. It would accommodate all the, you know, the people there, but that's neither here nor there, because that's over there, but we need to figure out what's going on here. You know, another thing I want to say is, like, you know, I always try to convince people, like, you know, we can't solve the problems of the world. Okay, we just can't. But we can't solve the problems in our city. But we need your voices. We need all you guys to come to city council. You ain't got to come, but at least send us emails. Our email addresses are right there, and tell us, give us your opinions, you know, and we will look at it and we'll try to do the best we can to put things in order and make it work. But have you ever done that before? Don't let me ask people to raise their hands if they did. Okay, so that's my point. That's my point. Okay. Yes.
What you were saying about house prices being unaffordable around here hit home to me. I have both my sons staying home with me because they can't afford anything around here too.
And how old are they?
32 and 29. So anyway, I hear stories, I don't know if this applies to Redmond or not, but big corporations, they buy up all these housing tracts, and then they just blow up the rentals so you can't afford them. Is there any way to control the rents on places like that?
Is there any way to control what?
The rents on places like that?
You know if I say that word, it's going to be a bad word, so I'm not even going to say it. You know what that word is, right? If somebody says rent control, they're like, But I don't know the answer to that. But we got to figure something out.
But you're from New York City.
We in high rises. Let me tell you something about New York. All we need is a little apartment because we don't hang out in the house all day. We in the streets, moving around, So, but no, I'm just joking. But seriously, no. Look, that's what we got to try to figure out. How do we do that? So this is going to be a conversation with the villagers and everybody else about how can we make this work? Because another thing that I can tell you, here's another thing I want to talk about. What I didn't notice, and I've never done this before, I've been talking to young high school kids in town. And I say, hey, what you gonna do when you got out of high school? I said, no, seriously, what you gonna do? I don't know. They're in the 12th grade, they're seniors, and they don't have a clue what they're gonna do. And you know what? That is a mental health issue, and I never noticed that before. That's a mental health issue because these kids are like saying, okay, I'm gonna be 18 years old, I'm getting out of school, and I don't have a clue what I'm gonna do. And my mom and dad might kick me out if they got a mom and dad, and what do I do? They don't even know what kind of job they want to go into. They have nothing. They have, so I'm not blaming the schools or anything. I'm just saying they're not prepared. And and this is what I said. I went to college back in the 70s, right? I went to NYU, right? But it didn't cost $1 million to go to it. First of all, like just go to school and get my classes and get out and graduate, whatever. But the fact of the matter is that they don't have money for college. Everyone's not designed for college. And I tell people this all the time. These kids think they got to go to college. And then they say, well, my mom wants me to go to college. I want to go to Arizona State University. But you know what that costs? They have no clue. They just be saying that. And what I'm saying is that we just got to start preparing our kids because they're not prepared. And I was going to say, it's almost, I think that's what prerequisites is. I don't know. Because when I was in school, they didn't have a thing called, when you got a college called prerequisites. You just went to school, you picked the courses that you wanted. And our high schools, I went to Catholic school, so the nuns used to beat the hell out of me, so I was smart. When I went to high school, I was already smart, right? But you just knew what you was doing. It's funny, because I went to, when I was in the sheriff's department, I was going to go take a class, and they wanted me to take a test. And I said, take a test for what? Just to see if you're qualified to be here. I said, I'm a commander for the sheriff's department. I was a naval officer. How much more education do I need just to take a class? I just want to take one class. And I got to pay for it. And she said, well, no, you got to take a test first to see if you're qualified, because we don't want to waste our time. I don't know what that's all about, but So anyway, my point is that we got to start preparing the kids. We got to start finding out about the housing. And the questions you're asking me right now, those are excellent questions. Put them down and bring them to city council. Because with the new mayor, at our retreat the other day, he says, we're not going to ignore people's questions and act like we don't have an answer for them. We're not going to get into a debate. What we don't want to do is have you come to city council, ask a question, and then it turns into a debate. Because that's not what that's for. That's not that for. But we do want to hear what you got to say. And if the response to you is, like I said, I don't know the answer to that, we'll get together as a council, look at it, and see what we can bring back to you. That's what we're going to do from now on. And to me, that's the respectful, logical thing to do. But to sit there, I felt so weird sometimes. People will come up and give a speech and end it with a question, and then we all up there, and I'm like, I don't even want to look up because I have to respond back to somebody if they ask me a question. It's just like being rude almost, Yes, young lady. Oh, I'm sorry.
Have you thought about, or possibly this is an idea, of putting together maybe a committee of different people that are, involved in housing? Because I can tell you, it sounds like, of course, everybody wants to solve that problem, and there's so many layers to it. I take applications all the time for home loans, and it is so or Finn or wherever it is, they're responsible adults, they worked hard and earned that right to be a homeowner. But it's not just that, I do construction. So I see when the bids come in, that the builders are getting, I'm not talking about like a traffic builder, I'm talking about, a one-off builder, where they're getting their lumber prices from their wholesaler and the paint bids. I mean, you look at it and it's just, they're not adding anything into it. It's the inflation and the cost of everything. There's so many layers to it that maybe a committee in the community of different people to try and figure out, because it's the same thing, where you have all these different, people trying to solve, the parking lot, the different housing, maybe bringing in experts in all different fields to sit down and say, what are you seeing, what are the issues, and then how can we tackle those issues?
I think that's an excellent idea. And I would suggest that you submit that to us and say, we would like to have this done. And I'm serious. I'm really serious about that. That is an excellent idea, because I'm not an expert in building anything. Okay, I have a log cabin I was going on. But no, for real, that's an excellent idea. And this is what I'm talking about. This is how we're going to get things done, because just sitting here talking now, y'all coming up with ideas right now. These are the kind of things we need to hear, because this is how we get where we need to get to. But just sitting here saying nothing, sitting on our hands, it's going to turn terrible. Ron, you have a question?
Yeah, first of all, you got a lot of experience in this room, and we should all chip in and share that. In our partnership, though, I think we want to include the county as well.
Right.
We didn't mention much about that.
Right.
They've been helpful lately in getting some land for us. But what's the one thing that you would want city council to do, the city to do, in support of those goals?
But what I want the city to do?
Yeah, in support of our partnership with the city.
Well, it's funny you said, because when we was at the retreat the other day, that's one of the things I brought up. I said, first of all, we did a 2040 plan. And we always have these 2040 plans, 2010 plans, the mayor there, he knows that, right? But, with the pandemic, the pandemic really threw a wrench in everything, But it doesn't stop anything. And what I was telling the new mayor and stuff, I said, we need to reevaluate the 2040 plan, because that's obsolete now. Because so many things have happened. The prices went up, everything. Right. So we need to reevaluate what we're doing. We need to set our priorities, because we don't even have any priorities. They just got a bunch of stuff. It's just sitting there. And a bunch of stuff is just going to be a bunch of stuff. But once you prioritize and you start knocking them off the list, that's how you do it. You got long range goals, you got short range goals. This is like economics 101. We know how that works. You take the long range ones and you say, okay, we'll work on that. But then the ones that we can knock out now, we need to knock out. And again, we're going to need you guys' help. And we love all these other, just like the Rotary Club, your club, the Kiwanis Club. Together we can get this done. And we have to get it done. It's not an option. We have to get it done.
Okay.
Oh.
No. Questions? So even though he's a Rotarian, we're going to give him a Kiwani pen so he can use it rotary.
Thank you so much. Thanks, bud.